Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, welcome to a new episode of The Qur'an and Science. I'm your host, Tamer Mumtaz. Welcoming our dear Professor Dr. Zaghloul Naggar, Head of Committee on Scientific Facts in the Glorious Qur'an, Supreme Council on Islamic Affairs. Welcoming our dear brother Fuad, our dear brother Mustafa. And this episode will be speaking about the darkness in the universe. But before we go on, we'll listen to a recitation of the verse dealing with our topic from Surah Al-Hijr, verses number 14 and 15.
Even if we opened for them a gate to heaven, and they continued to ascend thereto, they would say, "Indeed, our eyes have been shut. We have been bewitched."
Professor, talk to us about the darkness in the universe.
I begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Lord, the Lord of the universes, the creator of everything, the one and the only super being in that universe, without parallels, partners, or similitudes, and seeking his grace and blessings on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the seal of prophethood and the seal of messengerhood. And I greet you all and your audience in our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you all. One of the most recently discovered facts of our universe is that the universe is absolutely dark. The beautiful daylight we see during daytime is only limited to a distance that does not exceed 200 kilometers above sea level. Once you exceed that elevation, you will see the sun as a blue spot in an absolutely pitch black sky. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing his bounties upon us by giving us this beautiful white light of the day. This fact was only revealed after space travel. And the Qur'an spells out this fact in a parable, in giving an example. And the beauty about the Holy Qur'an is that even when the verse comes in the context of giving a parable or an example, it remains scientifically absolutely correct. The verse is speaking about the arrogance of the unbelievers, the how could I say it, the conceit of the unbelievers. Whatever evidence you give them, they don't like to believe. Whatever logic you present to them, they try to reject it away and go away from it. So the verse here, or the two verses here, in Surah Al-Hijr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَوْ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَابًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, even if we were to open a gateway above them. Meaning that Allah would like to expose the greatness of this universe in front of their own eyes, so that they can admit that this vast, immense, orderly universe cannot be the product of an accident or a chaos, but it is the work of a great creator. It says, even if we were to open a gateway above their heads, وَلَوْ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَابًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. And here there is a miracle. Before I continue with the verse, why did Allah say a gateway in heavens, a gateway in the sky, a gateway in the firmament? Scientists used to believe that due to the reduction of atmospheric pressure, as we go up, we go into emptiness. The space is empty. They assume that there is no matter, no energy, nothing in it at all, because the pressure of the atmosphere is gradually reduced as you go up until it becomes 1/1,000,000 of the atmospheric pressure at sea level. And this is after a very short distance. And after 1,000 kilometers, hardly you can detect the atmosphere. So scientists said the empty space, emptiness in outer space. And only very recently we came to realize that if the sky was empty, or any emptiness can take place in the sky, this universe can collapse. There is no emptiness in this universe. Every single space in that wonderful universe is infilled with matter and energy, and there is no emptiness at all. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning this fact in another verse about the sky, where he says, وَمَا لَهَا مِن فُرُوجٍ, and there is no openings in the sky, no emptiness in the sky. And that's why he said, even if we were to open a gateway above them, a gateway cannot be opened in emptiness. It has to be opened in a building, yes, in a structure, in something that's concrete.
Some media.
And only recently we came to realize that the universe is concrete, is very carefully built. There is no emptiness and no voids in it at all. So Allah is saying, even if we were open to a gateway above them, وَلَوْ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَابًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَظَلُّوا فِيهِ يَعْرُجُونَ. ظَلَّ is an Arabic adverb that means remaining during daytime, because it comes from ظِل, which is shadow. And ظَلَّ cannot be used at night. You can use only during daytime. فَظَلُّوا فِيهِ يَعْرُجُونَ, meaning remained during daytime, ascending into space. فَظَلُّوا فِيهِ يَعْرُجُونَ. The word يَعْرُجُونَ here is also a miraculous word, because يَعْرُج is the walk of a lame person. A lame person cannot walk in a straight line. He has to go into curves. And only recently science came to prove that nothing can travel in outer space in straight lines. It has to go into curves due to the gravitational pull of different heavenly bodies, see, with different energies, with different degrees. So nothing can travel in a straight line.
And there is no, for example, a total energy that could be calculated so that, for example, a rocket could go just straight away?
No, a rocket goes by the push it takes, and it goes into a very limited area of the outer space, and even it cannot go in a straight line.
Although with this huge amount of push.
Yes, even this has to go only straight line and in a very short distance from Earth. Yes. Then it has to curve.
Okay.
So look at the beauty, and every single notion of traveling in the sky, Allah has used the word uruj. And even the journey of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. So really, it points to the very, very scientific precision of every single word and every single letter used in the glorious Qur'an.
But this includes light also?
Includes light.
But there's a theory that says light travels in straight lines?
No, light, you see, to our own eyes, our own eyes can see in a straight line. But light actually curves, doesn't go in straight lines. So all sorts of matter and energy traveling in space have to go in curved lines. And that's why the Quran describes it by uruj. And we have a chapter in the Quran called Surah Al-Ma'arij.
Yes.
Allahu Dhil Ma'arij. Allah describes himself by the one who has ordered this curved travel in outer space. And the verses here say, وَلَوْ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَابًا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَظَلُّوا فِيهِ يَعْرُجُونَ. Even if we were to open a gateway above them in the firmament, in the sky, and they will remain ascending in curved lines during daylight, لَقَالُوا إِنَّمَا سُكِّرَتْ أَبْصَارُنَا بَلْ نَحْنُ قَوْمٌ مَسْحُورُونَ. They would have said, our eyes have been shut down, or as if something magic has come over us. And indeed, the very first space traveler who traversed the light zone, these 200 kilometers, uttered words that can be the exact English translation of these two verses. He said, "My eyes are shut down as if something magic has come over me." And look at the beauty of the Quranic expression of a fact that was not known at all to anybody. On the contrary, people thought that the more you travel in outer space, the closer you will be to the sun,
Yes.
the brighter the image would be, you see. But of course, this fact was not known until the mid-50s, 1950s, middle part of the 20th century, when the first person was sent into outer space and he uttered an expression that can be the exact English translation of these two verses. لقالوا إنما سكرت أبصارنا بل نحن قوم مسحورون.
So if I'm standing right next to the sun, I will not see light
You will not see anything.
because I'll get burnt. Yes, but but there is no light also.
Even you cannot see any star directly. You see, if you look at any star directly, you can lose your eyesight.
Oh.
So you cannot even draw nearer to the sun. The surface temperature of the sun is 6,000 degrees centigrade. And the various emanations that are coming from the sun carry a temperature of 1 million to 2 million degrees centigrade. So you cannot approach nearer to the sun. But anyhow, the more you come closer, once you exceed this distance of 200 kilometers above sea level, you will see the sun, a blue spot in an absolutely dark sky. For the Holy Qur'an, a book revealed more than 14 centuries ago to an unlettered Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
May Allah's peace and blessings be upon him. To spell this fact so beautifully in the context of giving an example. Allah is describing the arrogance of the unbelievers. Yani this does not came as a piece of scientific information per se. It comes down to express the arrogance of unbelievers.
To challenge them.
Allah is saying, even if I was exposed to them, the wonders of that universe, they will not believe.
And we can look at it in another dimension also, because the scientists of today,
Yes.
they know that it is,
Indeed.
and still they're not accepting.
Indeed.
He opened for them the gate of knowledge, and
Yes.
they still.
But again, this is our own mistake.
Yes.
As Muslims, we did not carry the message to them as purely as it should be carried and as carefully as it should be carried. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to take that message to as many people as we can. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is going to have said, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً فَرُبَّ مُبَلَّغٍ أَوْعَى مِنْ سَامِعٍ. Carry for me a single Quranic verse. Probably the one who is listening to it is more wise than the one who is carrying it.
Yes.
You see? And he is quoted to have said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam,
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا واحدا خير لك من الدنيا وما فيها أو مما طلعت عليه الشمس أو من حمر النعم أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. If Allah can help you to guide a single soul in this world to the path of truth, this will be far better for you than this whole world and everything that's in it.
Yes.
So really, we as Muslims are asked to carry this great guidance, the only form of divine guidance that has been kept intact in exactly the same language of revelation, without the slightest alteration, for more than 14 centuries. And the promise of Allah is to keep it forever. إِنَّا نَحْنَ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Verily, we have sent down the reminder, and verily, we will always be preserving it. So it's our mistake. We leave those scientists knowing these facts, but they don't know that it is in the Holy Quran. We have to bring this to their notice and wait to see whether they will accept it or they will reject it.
May Allah help us to do our job, inshallah. We'll go for a short break, and soon we'll be back with Professor Dr. Zaghlul Naggar. Thank you.
بارك الله فيك.
Are you up to date with the latest gadgets and devices? Or do you get confused when someone even mentions the word computer? Conquer your fear and learn how to get the best out of the latest computer software, smartphones, and the latest cutting-edge technology by tuning into Tech Talk with Dr. Baha. All of this and more in Tech Talk, only on Hoda TV.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and continuing our conversation with Professor Dr. Zaghloul Al-Naggar. And I think Brother Mustafa had a question before the break.
Yes, exactly. As Dr. Zaghloul, I was wondering about, you were saying earlier that the more you go up on the sky towards space, the more pressure that we get, or the less pressure that we get, and the more that you go up, the less oxygen, I would say.
Yes, yes.
Am I correct?
Absolutely correct. Yes. You see, the atmospheric pressure at the surface of the sea diminishes gradually as you go up until you cannot detect it. After 1,000 kilometers, almost man cannot detect the atmosphere. Yet it is there, but it's so thin that it cannot be detected. Not only the pressure decreases, but we get a variation in the degree of temperature as well. You get lowering of the temperature, then increase of the temperature, then lowering again, then a steady increase until you reach the sun. And that's why it's very dangerous to travel in outer space without a proper protection.
Right.
The other danger is that you get the deficiency of oxygen and the gradual increase in harmful gases, poisonous gases actually, like hydrogen and helium. And this cannot be inhaled by man. So unless you are perfectly protected, you cannot travel in outer space.
I remember reading an ayah, a verse in the Qur'an, mentioning something like that.
The Qur'an says, again, the ayah comes in the context of giving a parable or a simulation. It reads, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كأنما يصعد في السماء.
Yes.
Of course, we know that Allah has an eternal knowledge, and Allah knows the ins and outs of every one of us. And through the divine knowledge, when Allah knows that there is something good in any person, Allah will help him to increase that goodness.
Right.
And if Allah knows that somebody is evil and is bad, and is not willing to learn, Allah will leave him and will not guide him. And the verse says, فَمَنْ يُرِدَ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Whoever Allah wills to guide, He will open his heart and expand his chest, metaphorically speaking, meaning He will accept it gladly. يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. He will open his heart and his chest, broad chest, for accepting Islam. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ. Whoever Allah does not will to guide, He will leave him to his evil, to himself. يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصْعَدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. He will make his chest so narrow and so congested as a sign of rejection and unaccepting, you see, Islam. كَأَنَّمَا يَصْعَدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ, as if he is traveling in outer space without any protection. And nowadays we have what we call space medicine. And space medicine tells us that if you travel in outer space without enough protection, actually you can burst in no time, actually. All the gases in your body will expand as a result to the lowering of pressure up there. And as they expand, they will rupture all the veins, all the arteries, all the cells, all the lungs. It will rupture everything, you see. And secondly, with the deficiency of oxygen, one will become suffocating.
That's right.
And as if his chest has been narrowed and congested. And it's really amazing for a book revealed more than 14 centuries ago to talk about atmospheric medicine in such a beautiful manner. And whoever would know this other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
But as we go up, the light also diminish.
diminished as well,
And,
yes.
to a point that I remember you saying that we can see the sun. We would see the sun as a blue light,
As
a blue spot.
yes, a blue spot.
But what about the other planets? Don't they see the
You cannot
sunlight?
see the planets. You will only see some of the stars.
No, what about the light, the sunlight, the effect of the sunlight on the other planets?
But you will not see it because, again, every planet, if it has an atmosphere, the white light of the day will be seen only in a lower distance in that atmosphere.
So you're saying that
Yes.
it's possible to see bright light on Earth and on Mercury, the first planet.
Yes,
Maybe it's dark?
we see it from Earth because we see the light reflected from its surface towards us. But of course, if you are in outer space, you cannot see that light because there is nothing that would reflect that light so that you can see it. You see it here because of the density of the lower atmosphere. That's why you see it here. You see. So you'll not see planets. You will see only stars as tiny little specks of blue light in an absolutely dark background.
But what I meant also is that we on Earth, we see the daylight in order to do our activities. For example, if there was life on Mercury, would they have the same daylight as us?
Of course, they do have the same daylight and night alternation because they all revolve around their axis in front of the sun. But the length of their days and nights will be completely different from ours. The closer you are to the sun or the farther you are to the sun will it change the length of your day and the length of your night. Yes.
So continuing with the darkness of the universe, the more
Yes.
we go up, no oxygen, no light. What else? What else?
What
What
else?
more about the darkness in the universe?
Of course, we talk about interplanetary matter, interstellar matter. We find matter and energy are still there, but they are not suited for human life. And that's why it's a great mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has conditioned the earth to suit our own existence. And those dreams of the crazy people over there who try to buy land on the moon or buy land on Mars or make tourist journeys to the moon, you see.
Yes.
It's absolute nonsense because there is no atmosphere to the moon. And of course, you have to carry your oxygen, you have to carry your water, you have to carry your food, you have to carry your protection of all kinds of. What life would this be? Life would be.
But this is good
virtually
so that
impossible.
we know the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
But continuing on the darkness, although there are so many stars and you say they're much bigger than the sun,
Yes,
still the universe is dark.
the universe is absolutely dark.
Because
There's
there's no
effect of these
atmosphere.
lights.
Because you see, these lights, as they are emitted as a result of the process of nuclear fusion, they are scattered in different wavelengths that cannot be seen. And these wavelengths can only be observed if they are repeatedly scattered and reflected several times on the tiny specks of solid matter in our lower atmosphere or on the condensation of gas molecules or humidity of water molecules. But if you have a thin atmosphere, you cannot see them. You cannot see anything. And that's why one of the realities of our time is the absolute darkness of outer space. And this darkness is also paralleled by darkness in the depths of the oceans and seas. So we find that, inshallah, we'll come to that in another episode. You find that the upper 100 meters of the seawater is lit by the daylight, the sun rays. And of course, not completely lit as you see it on land, because first of all, 49% of the sun radiation is reflected by the clouds, and only 51% of the radiated energy from the sun reaches the surface of the sea. And the majority of that is consumed in evaporating water to create the water cycle around the earth. Otherwise, the water of the earth would go bad, because we know that in every cubic centimeter of water, there are virtually millions of organisms that live and die. And without this water cycle around the earth, this water would have gone very bad and life would stop. And that's why we find that the bulk of the solar radiation is consumed in the evaporation cycle. And only 10% of that radiation penetrates the upper 100 meters of the sea, and this is called the photic zone, the zone of light. And below 100 meters, only 1% of the solar radiation penetrates. And it goes down gradually until nothing at all can reach the bottom of deep oceans and deep seas.
Again, complete darkness.
Complete darkness. So the average depth of an ocean is 4 kilometers. And we have the deepest part of oceans goes beyond 11 kilometers. So if you know that no light can penetrate beyond the 1 kilometer of the sea, nothing at all can penetrate beyond 1 kilometer, you can see that the greatest bulk of the depths of seas and oceans are in absolute darkness.
Yes.
So the universe is dark, and the bottoms of oceans and seas are dark. And Allah has bestowed upon us this beautiful daylight only in 200 kilometers above sea level. And that's why every dawn coming up to us, we have to bow in gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the light of the day.
And Dr. Zaghloul, as there is a difference in the organisms living in the sea according to the light, is there also a difference in the living beings in these 200 kilometers?
Oh, definitely. Every layer of water has got its own physical chemical characteristics, its own life forms, its own type of deposit that comes down from it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has diversified the ocean into different ecological niches, different ecological environments to suit the abundance of life.
But above the ocean?
What do you mean above the ocean?
According to the intensity of light, which
Yes.
differs above the ocean until it fades absolutely.
You mean down? It fades down. You see, the light of the day fades gradually down in the ocean.
And up also?
And up, but this above land as well.
Above land, yes.
Above land as well.
Creation is also different? There are different beings according to the light intensity?
Oh, definitely, no doubt about that. But if you take a section on a high mountain, for example, you will find at every level of this mountain, there are certain types of plants and certain types of animals that suit this environment. But of course, in air, we don't know what's there.
But is there any benefit why daylight? If, for example, the world was only night, can man survive?
Because you see, if there is no light, no daylight, no life at all. Because the basic food chain that is created for you and for me, for us all, is mainly carried out using the sun rays by green plants in the process called photosynthesis. Yes. Without photosynthesis, no carbohydrates would be produced, no starch would have been produced, no sugars, no cellulosic material, nothing. So without the sunlight, life would have been impossible in the surface of that planet.
Yeah. So that leads me to a question. In the North Pole and in the South Pole, like, how is life? Because I know that there's 6 months of darkness and 6 months of
at
daylight.
the two poles, you mean?
2 poles, yes.
At the 2 poles, of course, you see, it's not complete darkness as you may think it is, you see.
Right.
But of course, there is a certain element of the sun rays reaching there. Of course, it's not like daytime. But of course, it's not completely devoid of light. And anyhow, life also diminishes toward the 2 poles. Only you find highly specialized forms of animals and plants that can exist there.
Right.
Not every form of life can exist under.
No wonder they eat fish a lot in there.
Under what?
No wonder that they
No
eat
wonder
a lot
they
of
eat
fish.
a lot of fish
Of
there.
course, of course.
Okay, we'll leave the next episode. Thank you very much. We come to the end of the episode. Thanking Professor Dr. Zaghloul Naggar, Brother Fuad, Brother Mustafa. Thank you very much. Thank you, our viewers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.